Most people think that change begins when something goes wrong, when life becomes painful enough that staying no longer feels possible, when a moment arrives that demands action because avoiding it would hurt more than moving. But for many people, that moment never comes. Nothing breaks. Life keeps moving forward in small, ordinary ways. Bills are paid on time. Messages get answered. Responsibilities are met. Days stack on top of each other without resistance. From the outside, it looks like stability. From the inside, it feels manageable. And manageable is dangerous. When nothing hurts enough, there is no urgency to leave. There is no pressure to decide. There is no clear reason to question what you are doing with your life. At first, this feels like peace. You tell yourself that you are lucky, that other people have real problems, that things could be much worse, and all of that can be true at the same time. But comfort has a quiet side effect that most people do not notice until it is too late. It slowly reduces the number of questions you allow yourself to ask. You stop asking what you want. You stop asking where you are going. You stop asking whether the life you are living actually belongs to you. Not because you answered those questions, but because asking them stopped feeling necessary. Days turn into routines. Routines turn into years. Years pass without anything demanding a clear decision from you. You tell yourself that you will decide later, when things calm down, when the timing makes sense, when you feel more certain, when you have more clarity. But clarity does not arrive on its own. Clarity responds to movement. And when there is no movement, clarity waits. Years can pass this way, not dramatically, not painfully, just quietly. You adjust instead of choosing. You adapt instead of deciding. You make small compromises that feel reasonable in the moment. Adaptation looks responsible. It looks mature. It earns approval from other people. But adaptation has a cost that is rarely discussed. Over time, the life you once imagined for yourself begins to feel unrealistic. Not because it was impossible, but because you trained yourself not to reach for it. You learned how to live without wanting too much. You learned how to stay comfortable instead of curious. You learned how to shrink your expectations until they fit inside your routine. This is how lives shrink. Not through failure, not through chaos, not through dramatic loss, but through comfort. Through days that are fine. Through routines that work. Through the absence of friction. Most people do not abandon their dreams. They postpone them. Postponement feels harmless. It feels temporary. It feels responsible. You tell yourself that you will return to those ideas later, that you will explore them when you have more time, that you will take them seriously when life is less busy. But later has a way of moving. 1 year becomes 3. 3 becomes 5. 5 becomes a decade. And one day, you realize that postponement was not a delay. It was a decision. The hardest part of this realization is not regret. The hardest part is recognizing that nothing forced you into this life. No one trapped you. No one stopped you. No one took your options away. You simply stayed. And staying felt reasonable at every step. There was always a logical explanation. There was always a responsible reason. There was always something that made leaving feel unnecessary. Nothing was broken. Nothing collapsed. Nothing pushed you. That is why you stayed. Staying does not feel like a mistake while you are doing it. It feels practical. It feels careful. It feels like you are avoiding unnecessary risk. You tell yourself that you are being patient, that you are waiting for the right moment, that rushing would only make things worse. But patience becomes avoidance when it has no end. Avoidance is quiet. It does not announce itself. It disguises itself as responsibility. You stay because leaving would require explaining yourself. You stay because choosing something different would raise questions you are not ready to answer. You stay because uncertainty feels heavier than dissatisfaction. So you learn how to live with less curiosity, less urgency, less desire, not all at once, gradually, until the absence feels normal. This is why change feels so difficult later, not because the leap is bigger, but because you have practiced standing still. Momentum works both ways. Staying builds inertia, comfort builds resistance, and resistance makes movement feel unnatural. Eventually, the thought of changing your life feels dramatic, unrealistic, even selfish. You tell yourself that wanting more is immature, that you should be grateful for what you have, that other people would be happy in your place. And again, those thoughts are not wrong. They are just incomplete. Gratitude does not require stagnation. Appreciation does not demand self-abandonment. But when you have been standing still for too long, movement feels like betrayal. That is the trap. You do not stay because you cannot leave. You stay because leaving would require admitting that you waited too long. And that admission is painful. So you stay a little longer. And a little longer after that. Until staying becomes your identity. And maybe this realization is uncomfortable. Maybe it makes you uneasy. But it is also powerful. Because the moment you see this clearly, you are no longer drifting. You are aware. And awareness changes the rules. Awareness gives you something you did not have before. Choice. You may not change everything today. You may not make a dramatic move. You may not have all the answers. But you can no longer say that you did not see it. And once you see it, staying becomes a choice instead of a default. Movement does not begin with confidence. It begins with honesty. And honesty begins here.